The pay. Do we talk about the pay? Are we allowed to talk about the pay? I don't know if I should mention this. Actually, no, take it out.
And I know you like colours because it's probably a good time to mention that before we jumped on camera, you texted me to ask what colour I'm going to wear.
I care about aesthetics a lot.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kiran. I'm a junior doctor and a comedian working in Manchester. Today we are joined by another YouTube doctor,
Hi.
Dr. Tarvala.
Hi there, my name's Dr. Tarvala and I'm a junior doctor working in London. I usually make vlogs in order to share my journey through medicine with you guys in the hopes that you might pick up a thing or two.
So today we're talking about some of the things that you didn't know about being a doctor, so what they don't tell you about being a doctor. And I thought this would be good because Tarvala, you've just graduated, you've started working as a doctor, you're in your first year.
No, there are too many things, and I feel like the first one that I give you guys should be like the juiciest thing, but I haven't prepared any such order.
Okay.
But the biggest thing that I can think off the top of my head is there was a lot of like conversations around becoming slightly more on the apathetic side and sort of losing your compassion. However, I found that medicine's not been like that for me at all in terms of the experience that I've had. So obviously, like with COVID and just being in this sort of environment, there's a lot of deaths that can be quite, sad for not just the patients, but also doctors too. So like when I started, I was very protective of sort of not losing compassion. I feel just as much as I did when I started, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy having feelings, raw human emotions associated with whatever it is that I'm coming across, whether it's something happy where a patient gets treated and they're doing well enough to go home, or even if it's something a bit more on the sad end of the spectrum.
Every day you have conversations with so many different people, and that's something that I learned when I started working as a doctor, is that you need to enjoy those conversations, because I didn't realise how much of being a doctor was A, communicating, and B, doing admin. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And communicating is such a huge part of being a doctor, and everyone tells you their story, and everyone is a person who has something to say to you. And although you might have loads of patients, although you might be treating and seeing loads of patients, they're there because they've got a problem and they need to see the doctor. And so everyone basically deserves your time and attention.
Absolutely. And I think it's also really important just being present during those times that you're communicating. I think just in the busy job, what I thought would happen is I'd be, very much preoccupied by, other things going on, between patients. But like for example, if I've got an unwell patient here, I might be sort of a bit distracted by that when I'm trying to talk to another family member or a different patient. However, what I found is that when you sort of think about focusing your energy and your sort of thoughts on what it is at hand that you're dealing with, and the patient that you're talking to, I feel that not only is it better for the patients, but also just like how meaningful your interactions are.
One of the things that I mentioned a bit earlier was about the amount of admin you have to do as a doctor. And this is something that I knew when I was at medical school, because I saw doctors doing discharge summaries and writing in notes a lot, but I didn't quite realise how much of the job it would be. And it's both for continuity of care, so that everyone knows what's going on with the patient, but also to, for the legal side of things as well, so they can audit things. If anything goes wrong, there's a trail of what's happened. And I, in my F1 and F2 year, probably spent over half of the day sitting in front of the computer, writing in notes, looking at blood tests, all of that sort of thing. How have you found that as a doctor? Because it's such a huge part of the job.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really significant part of the job. As you mentioned, the discharge summaries, which for anybody who doesn't know what that is if a patient is ready to go home now, we write a small summary of what brought the patient in, what was going on really, what symptoms they had on admission, how they've been sort of changing whilst with us in sort of treatments that we've offered them, any scan results and what we're doing sort of moving forward. I have dyslexia, so it actually takes me a lot longer to sort of read things, process things, and also type them up. So it does, when I am doing an EDS, it does take, you know, it does mean that I spend a lot of time on the computers, or at least a bit more than a few of my other colleagues might. But one thing that I have learnt to do is find an enjoyment in that. So the fact that I'm going to be writing the EDS, so the discharge summary, isn't going to change, but how I perceive the process of writing this discharge summary can change. So how I see it is, I don't resent writing discharge summaries. I don't not enjoy them. In fact, I do enjoy the process of just sort of, you know, in my head, whether I know the patient well or not, sort of forming a picture of this patient who's come in, what we've done for them. And it's like a nice story that you get to tie up. So imagine it like a package, like you're just putting all the ribbons on and you're tying and you're like, here you go, and you can go home now. You know, so
it's like you're reading a book. Like you're reading a book, you're doing a short summary of the book, and then you're moving on to the next book. I get it. Also, it's quite nice.
I'm packaging it and sending it, hand signed.
It's exactly signed by a
get me a wax seal.
It's not even very stressful either, to be honest. It's quite a nice chilled part of the job. It's the kind of thing that happens during the day where you can sit down, have a hot drink, knock out some discharge summaries. So it's, you know, it's pros and cons to everything, isn't there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like sometimes there are patients that you think you know, but you don't know the full story. We had one patient who was in the hospital for months and months. And there was one day where I really didn't want to be at work, but my colleague, my senior, was like, I'd rather you sat and worked on discharge summaries the whole day than not come in at all. So I was like, okay, fine. As long as I don't have to like move around too much, I'm happy to do that. So in I went, and honestly, it was like, the notes were like this thick, and we still use paper notes, so it's not a matter of copy and pasting, it's a matter of like reading and writing.
So what copy and paste used to be like back in the day.
Unfortunately, 21st century, we're still using those classic copy and paste methods. And yeah, it was nice to sort of fill the gaps about the patient in terms of the understanding that I had. So yeah, that I found really interesting. So yeah, over time I've learnt to enjoy the process of writing discharge summaries, and colleagues love that because not everybody loves writing discharge summaries.
Coming back to the topic of things I didn't know before I was a doctor, is I'd never heard of the doctor's mess before I started. I don't know what your doctor's mess is like in London.
So in terms of the doctor's mess, I knew what it was in my final year of medical school, and I'll tell you the reason. I was doing my anaesthetics placement, and there was this really interesting plastic surgery. It was like this whole jaw reconstruction, and it was going to be a long procedure, I knew, and I wanted to see it through from start to finish. So I got really hungry, and the anaesthetist was just like, oh, you can go and get some toast if you want some. There's this room upstairs, and he like described it to me. So off I went, and then I was just making toast with peanut butter, and somebody came up to me and was just like, so do you pay membership for the mess? And in my head I'm like, what membership? But also, what's a mess? Yeah, we do have a doctor's mess at my hospital, and I wanted to be a part of the committee. Basically, I had this idea when I started that I wanted to have tea time Thursdays, and you guys who know me know that I love tea, and the idea was I wanted people to, or junior doctors specifically, to grab their tea and relax at the end of the week and just talk about what's on their mind. So it's more from a well-being perspective. So I brought cake in our induction week, and people were like, you should run for social sec. I'm like, I just want tea and cakes, I don't want to do anything else. And then like other people wanted to be social sec, but no one wanted to be mess president. So guess who got pushed into being a mess president?
So you're the mess president as well?
I am. Meet me.
See, and it all started with a mere peanut butter on toast. So for people who actually don't know what the mess is at all, the doctor's mess is basically like a society. At university,
we are a mess.
You have societies, and
named after us.
It's like It's like a society for the new doctors. So usually the F1 and F2 doctors, anyone could be in it. It's usually the foundation doctors that are part of the doctors' mess, and they organise socials. They like look after the actual room, which is also called the doctor's mess, which is quite confusing because it's the name of the society and also the room. And they stock it with food, with coffee. The doctor's mess at my hospital that I was at when I did my foundation training was an absolute tip. It was a mess. There was every few weeks it had to get fumigated because there was cockroaches or something like that in there. It was a horrible room with a window that literally you couldn't shut it. So if you were trying to, and not that you'd ever sleep on night, but if you wanted to sleep on nights, you couldn't because it was like so cold in the winter because the window didn't shut. Whereas at the hospital I'm at now, it's a much nicer hospital, and the mess has a bean to cup coffee machine. It's got snacks all of the time. It's got like huge conference table. So it's
sounds
a
really nice.
It's a nice one compared to where I was before.
My hospital's creating this certain unit and they want to relocate the mess. So I had a meeting recently, literally like talking to somebody about redesigning the whole place. I didn't even know the meeting was going to be about that. They were like, okay, we're having a tour. So I was just like, okay, you know, we've done the ward round, we've gone through the jobs, there's nothing urgent. My colleagues are going for lunch. I'm going to go on this tour thinking it's going to be like 10-15 minutes. I'll look at the place and be like, yeah, cool. My girl came through with like her laptop, iPad, and I was like, yo, what are we doing? So is this a designing session? Like, am I choosing the colors for the walls and the sofas? And
I know you like colors because it's probably a good time to mention that before we jumped on camera, you texted me to ask what color I'm going to wear. It would be rude not to mention it. You guys know
I care about aesthetics a lot. It makes a huge difference. Funnily enough, in our current mess, our sofas are like this, I don't even know how to describe it, like teal.
Yeah.
So like in between green and blue. And then when we were walking with blue scrubs, it's just such a color clash.
Okay.
And I remember when I first became mess president, I was just like, okay guys, are we throwing these sofas out? And they were like, why? They're perfectly good sofas. I'm like, because I don't like the color.
It sounds horrible. I mean, you may as well just quit. It sounds, it's all gone downhill.
But we're gonna get a nice natural color. We're gonna have nice natural colors.
Let's wind this back. Let's wind this back to the original topic. I think we've got time for one more thing about things you didn't know before you became a doctor, or what they don't tell you. The secret that they hold, that might be the clickbait title, but the secret that the people hold about being a doctor.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
The pay. Do we talk about the pay? Are we allowed to talk about the pay?
Go for it.
Oh
Tell me about. Is it more than you thought?
No, it's gonna make me sound so money hungry.
No, go for it.
Oh my god! On our first month, I was walking to work with my colleague, and he goes, "Oh, we've been paid," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah. How much?" And then, am I allowed to say the number?
Yeah, say it. Go for it. I made a video on it, so.
He was like, we got paid 2K. And he was so happy. And I was just there like, hold up, you mean to tell me I spent the whole of last month without a social life, ruining my sleep pattern, to work 24/7 for this? For 2K?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just had that reaction.
Yeah.
But over time, I realized that 2K is a lot of money. But I just thought, you know, the whole myths about doctors are really rich, and I guess it depends on what part of the world and what exactly you're doing and how much into your training you are,
definitely.
and how senior you are. It depends on a lot of factors, but it just kind of shocked me.
No, but the other thing to add to that is that even if you worked a bit and had part-time jobs, you've not had much deductions to your pay in the past, or maybe you've not had a proper job before. And when you actually start working as a doctor and you see the huge deductions to the pay before it even gets to you, that makes you realise when the tax goes out, when the NI goes out, when the pension goes out, when the student loan goes out, when your car parking goes out, because everyone has to pay car parking to a hospital.
Can't relate to that part, but yeah.
If it costs you like 50 quid to go and park your car at a place you work in, all of this sort of stuff gets taken off before the pay gets to you.
100%.
So you see total pay 4,000 and then actual pay 2,000, and that is pretty good. It's pretty gut wrenching when you first start working.
Yeah. When you start going through your pay slip and you're like, wait, why is this large amount of money coming out?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you have to pay national insurance and tax, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm an adult now.
Yeah. And
whereas, as you said, like part-time work, you know, so I was doing like photography gigs and stuff, so that money stays with me, and it's not like big amounts, but still I just sort of see, you know, I get paid this amount, I know that is mine. Whereas here it's just like I've just been feeling a bit robbed.
But the other thing is that although it's a lot of money in terms of it's more than the average person would earn, but you're being compensated for what you're doing at work. They are long hours. They're also, you know, there's a lot of risk involved. There's a risk of litigation. There's a risk of things going wrong. There's a huge emotional burden that you carry. There's there's a lot that you have to do. So that's what you're compensated for, and that's why people are paid as they are as doctors.
Yeah, and having said that, and having sort of like spoken about the money aspect of being a doctor, one thing I have noticed over the last several months really is when I'm going to work, I'm not thinking anymore about like how much I'm being paid on the day or how much I'm going to make. I feel like work is, you know, working as a doctor is a part of my life. It's what I want to do. It's something that I look forward to regardless of the financial aspect of it. And that is something that is surprising. You know, I hear people say stuff like, oh, I'm not being paid to do this or whatever. But for me, it's like, I'm there because I want to be there. And if being paid is a byproduct of that, then cool.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
that, you know, that it's so rewarding. And that's another thing that, you know, you're told before med school or when you're doing your work experience, people mention medicine as being a very rewarding career. And I thought it was just sort of something that people said. But really, I feel like that has definitely resonated, and I do feel that way. How about you?
I like that. I agree with you. I think I used to be, especially when I started, I used to be like, kind of resenting the fact that I was finishing late so much. That, I'm meant to finish at 9:30. Handover keeps going on till 10 and all of this sort of stuff. And then, I don't remember when it was, but I've just got to a point now where it finishes when it finishes. And if you're less stressed about finishing on time and you know, all of that sort of stuff, I personally have a better time. As in, I'm taking my time doing things. If it finishes when it finishes, that's a bonus. If it finishes later, that's just the way it is. So I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up, if that's cool with you. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, sure.
Tarvala for being.
Thank you so much for having me.
Channel.
Thank you.
Do you want to quickly shout out your socials and how people can find you?
We'll just link it down below.
Okay. Well,
I'm on Instagram and YouTube. Those are like my main things I use.
Okay. Cool, perfect. So make sure you check out Tarvala's YouTube channel and her Instagram page. Make sure you subscribe to both of our channels. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Can you give me 1 second?
Yeah.
I'm pausing this video. Not actually pausing it, but my iPad's died and I need it.
Okay.
Ugh.
Testing. Yeah. I'm just checking my audio levels are still okay. Sometimes.
Can you see your screen?
Yeah, I can see my screen. No, but I record audio separately on an audio recorder, remember? I record my audio separately on a little audio recorder.
Oh! Okay, yeah.
So that's got that's better levels on it.
Yeah. Sorry, this is like poor organization for me. Oh my god.